Hi, my name is Ann Sermons Gillis, and I'm a member of Unity of Charleston. I'm interviewing members and friends of our Unity Church, and this morning I'd like to introduce a friend of Unity. Let's welcome Pamela Crissy. Welcome, Pamela.
Thank you, and it's good to be here with you.
Yeah, you're relatively.
Nice you do this.
Yeah, thank you. You're relatively new to this area, so where did you start out? Where are you originally from?
I'm originally from Reading, Pennsylvania, which is 60 miles west, northwest of Philadelphia.
Okay, and so where do you live now?
I live in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina.
Oh, you
And
live
we
in Mount
moved,
Pleasant. Okay.
yep.
And what brought you to this area to live?
My son lives here and my two grandkids. So we wanted to get near some children. We were only 3.5 hours away, but, and I always wanted to live by the beach.
Okay, so you moved from the mountains to the beach, right? You're in the Asheville area, I believe.
Yes. We
And,
were south of Asheville, closer to the border of South Carolina, but still in the mountains.
right, okay. So I know you are married, and you have children. How many children do you have?
Well, I have one, and Brian has three. So together we have 4 and 8 grandchildren.
Okay.
His kids are spread out all over the place, so at least we are with one.
Okay. How long have you been here? When did y'all move?
We only moved here in February, the end of January. And then we did some remodeling in February and March, and we moved in early April. So no, not that long. So we're still settling in.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I think I saw some pictures that you had in the hall that needed to be hung. You're still working
On the floor.
Oh yeah, and it'll take a long time before that gets no. So are you retired now? Or are you working?
Yes.
You are.
Yes.
When you weren't retired, what was your lifestyle? What did you do?
Well, most of my life I did administrative work, and I ended my life being the administrative director of Alliance of Divine Love. And in between that, Brian and I started a publishing company. So all that administrative work came in very handy in running a publishing company.
Oh, good. And what were you like publishing books, magazines, what?
We published books mainly on the ET experience and UFOs and the spirituality around ETs.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I mean, didn't hear that from Brian, but I did hear about those kind of experiences. Yeah, that's fascinating. So when did the spiritual search start? I mean, is this early, later life? And how did that come about? Just tell us about that.
I think it actually, in thinking about it, I think it actually came about when I was 12 and I had a close encounter.
Mm.
And I always felt these beings around me when I was a kid. And I used to think it was my dead grandmother until I had that experience. And then it was very, very close. I mean, the ship was about 50 feet above the telephone pole. So there was no denying. And I just said, I knew you've been around. I knew you were real. And I think that was the start of it. And that feeling of there's more going on here than we're ever told. And yeah, that led into actually Native American and following their spirituality. And when Brian and I got our land, we did sweat lodges. And then interestingly, when we were out at Sundance in North Dakota, a Native American man said to me, you need to be following and researching Eastern Orthodox Christianity. And, I mean, I was floored. This man doesn't know me. And he was right. I started reading about Eastern Orthodox, which also encompassed the spiritual beyond this realm, ETs, whatever's out there, and Christianity, and the spirit of the earth, like the Native Americans did. It was just rather interesting.
Right, yeah. So it's been quite a journey for you, a long
Yeah.
time journey. How did you find Unity Church?
We went to a Unity Church in Asheville. Well, no, between Hendersonville and Asheville. And it was lovely. It was a big church. And the minister was great and the music was great. She wrote her own music. But it was too far. And we drifted away from that. And then I was with Alliance of Divine Love, and that's how I met Scotty. And so when we came down here, just really wanted to be part of the Unity of Charleston and listen to Scotty because I think she's great.
Yeah, you already she led a group up there.
She did for a while. Yeah, she was at Namaste Center, and we went to Namaste Center in Hendersonville, and definitely heard her speak there. And then she moved back down here.
Okay, well, so could you give me just the brief thoughts about what your philosophy of life is? What are your guidelines?
Briefly, my philosophy is find the answers in the middle. I find with Brian and I, we're very complementary opposites, and running a business together and just living together, we have always found that by listening to each other, we always made the best decisions if we took a little bit of him and a little bit of me. And I think that's probably my basic philosophy of life in a practical sense.
Yeah, that's
yeah,
great.
and the oneness with everything, just the oneness with everything, and taking that in more and more as I've gotten older. And we actually published a book on insects, which totally changed my life, about the little creatures that live among us. But taking them in as spiritual beings and connected to all that is, it's just so rich, and they're all around us, and you can just connect with them, and they connect with us. So I don't know if that answers the question, but it's the oneness of everything. Trees and plants. We were saying today, we were sitting on our front porch and we have this sago palm, and it's really growing. I said to Brian, when people ask us what we're doing, we'll say, watching the sago grow. It's fascinating. Nature's fascinating.
I think that people that have plants can understand it. We have a volunteer pumpkin plant, and it's now about 10 feet long, and it's got a pumpkin growing on it. And some days it'll grow 2 or 3 inches, and it's amazing. Come back, it's like, oh my gosh, look what you did overnight.
Yesterday, these little fawns were coming up and they were closed, and today you can see them they're starting to uncurl. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Amazing. Moving to a little different topic, and that is, do you have any favorite books or authors that have helped you along the way?
Well, yes. Once I started getting into the Eastern Orthodox, I found Kyriakos Markides, actually. He is a Greek, obviously. He's a Cypriot from the island of Cyprus, where I lived in 1970. And he's also a sociology professor in New England, but he went back to Cyprus and he started rediscovering Christianity at a more mystical level, like Unity does. And so I read all of his books. I was just fascinated. And Brian McLaren, he's also a minister who is trying to bring Christianity into the 21st century. And then in the last few years, I'm really a nonfiction history reader too. Love history, really, of all eras, but mainly right now I'm into Southern history and all of its messiness, and there's beauty in there too. You can't have human beings and not have all the above: the messiness, the beauty, the hatred, the love, everything. It's who we are. And I think reading about history helps us discover who we are today, what we were, how we can change. And that's where my focus is right now. So I'm not a fiction reader at all. Once in a while.
Mm-hmm. Great. Well, you can find plenty of history in the Charleston area.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you been to the museum downtown, the one that's got this interactive stuff? There's a wonderful museum. There's several museums downtown, but that one.
Yeah, we went to the Gibbs Museum, which was wonderful. I don't know which one you're talking about.
I can't think of what the name of it is.
I hear you.
Yeah, it was a good one. Yeah. That's why when you're talking about it takes the two of you, Brian and you, to be able to make decisions, come to conclusions, understand and be guided in life. My husband and I say it takes two of us to remember anything. When you remember something, it says it's right at the top of my mind. So, but together we seem to be able to parse it out.
Yes.
So I think you've mentioned this, but just what are your passions and hobbies? I think reading must be one of them.
Yeah, well, I haven't been reading quite so much since we moved, that's for sure. But certainly my passion right now is working in our little backyard and transforming it and painting the fence and planting plants. And that's why there's pictures still laying around and there's things to be done inside, because plants need to be planted and cared for.
That's right. It's going to be too late if you don't get everything done by now.
That's true too. And the heat's coming, I understand.
Yeah, the heat will be here. It'll be a big surprise for you. But since you've been here in Mount Pleasant before, I'm sure you felt
I've been down, I know. And I can remember wanting to go out the door and go get to the car and turn on the air conditioner. So
all right. Okay.
I used to come down to be with my grandkids, obviously. So I would spend quite a few days here, at least every month. So I have experienced July and August.
Yes. Well, just moving along, do you participate in any spiritual practices?
Well, before we moved, I used to do yoga, and I try to meditate. I'm not a good meditator, but yeah, no, I'm hoping that now that I'm not working, and I only quit working a few years ago, that you know what? No, as I sit here and think about it, I meditate by being out in nature.
I know.
And sometimes I discount that.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. It's like you just told us about sitting on the front porch and watching the plants grow. I mean, that can be called contemplation as well.
All right. And I do that all the time. I was doing it all day. I was working, and then I would sit and just be. And that is a spiritual practice.
Yeah, absolutely. And as a matter of fact, many spiritual teachers say when we limit our practice to just a few minutes, 30 minutes or an hour in the morning, then what about the rest of the day? That's why mindfulness is so powerful and important these days, is to really be present, be there, and be with what is, whether it's nature or whether it's just you and I talking this morning.
Right.
Right.
I was trained as a plant spirit medicine practitioner, and during that process, we would sit and talk to plants for at least a half hour.
Oh, wow.
And it is amazing what you keep seeing the longer you sit there. Because we can sit there for 5 minutes and maybe I'll notice that the sago palm has grown, but you sit there a half hour with something, and all kinds of things are happening.
Wow, I've never even heard of that.
Yeah.
I mean, I've thought about being with a frog, or a firefly or something like that, but not just sitting with anything, maybe a tree. That's
a tree or a plant. Yeah, they'll speak to you if you're calm enough and quiet enough. Because I often used to wonder, how did people learn what these plants did? And I thought trial and error, maybe, or maybe the plant spoke to them. This is my gift.
Well, Elizabeth Gilbert wrote a book called The Signature of All Things. And even though you don't like fiction, I think this is a fascinating book. Have you heard of it?
I have heard of that.
Yeah, but it's an interesting book about this character's relationship with nature. She was a botanist.
Yeah, there's more. Yes, that's that oneness of everything again.
And it's a long book. But she did a lot of historical research on the book, so I love her work. So it has a lot of deep and rich spirituality woven through it and humanity. So you say that you're not in meditation, in direct meditation, you do research, historical research, you dance with nature, it sounds like. And so it appears you have a very diverse, and you have your UFO interest, and do you still publish?
No, we're not publishing anymore.
Okay.
We might publish some of our own. We still have the company and we still have some books going, and I think we kept it open. We're not publishing for other people anymore, but we may be publishing for ourselves in the future.
Okay. And you've just moved here. You're still getting settled. We're so glad that you and Ryan have joined our church, that you have joined our group to be with us on Sunday morning. And we look forward to getting to know you much better. I want to
Thank you very much. We're very happy to be there.
Okay. Well, you
Thank
take
you, Anne.
care. Thank you.
Thank you.